Alright, for this tutorial I want you to just open a blank document and we're going to play around with some of the type tools today. So on the left here is the type tool. You can hit click T to get that, and you can just click one time. Whoops, my bad, I wasn't on it. Here we go. Click T and this lorem ipsum will pop up. So that's just some placeholder Latin for you, just to know that you indeed have a text box started. So you can just type in here whatever you want. But if you type in forever, it's just going to continue on to this infinite line. Okay? So if we want it to be more of a paragraph, what we can do is we'll just select off of it, go back to our type tool, and we can click and drag a box, and there we can see that we're starting to have if I copy paste something, it's going to stay in this box. This quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog is a fun one because it uses every letter in the alphabet. So a lot of graphic designers will use that to get a good gauge of a certain type of font face, if you will. So here we're going to go ahead and click on different fonts. You can do this drop down menu and look at all these different fonts that are available in Adobe Illustrator. And then once you find one that you think is kind of cool, you can play around with the size, you can play around with the spacing between the sentences, you can play around with the spacing between the individual letters from one letter to the next. You can play around with the alignment within the paragraph, so you can justify it where everything's spaced out evenly. So go ahead and take a few moments just to play around with your character window, which if that character window is not popped up, go to window, and it's not under character actually, it'd be under type. So go to window, and then scroll down till you find type, and then there's character. Okay, once you've played around with all that, you're going to hit delete, but before you do, I want you to notice that, see that little red box there? That red box indicates that there's some font or some writing that's hidden. So I might have to drag my box bigger to find the end of that. There we go. Now that little red box is gone. So just a quick note on that. All right, go ahead and delete everything. Next, we're going to do type on a path tool, which can get a little hairy, but let's try it. We're going to go ahead and do an ellipse, and then we're going to go ahead and do a pen tool. So we'll click and drag. Can make a really weird one if you want, and then you can see how messed up this can get. Okay. Now we're going to do our type, click and hold to do type on a path, and we'll click on our path, and there we go. We have this Latin stuff that popped up here as our space filler. I still have mine justified like that, so when I pasted something, it showed up like all spaced out. So here I changed my spacing or my paragraph style. And now I have this font around here. If you want to try and make this more centered on the ellipse, you should be able to adjust these, but I just struggle every time to get this right. It can be a little tricky. I need to practice this a little bit more myself. You should be able to drag those brackets around. I don't know if you saw those, but if I click on this, see that little bracket and that little bracket? That's supposed to indicate the start and end of your text. But it can get a little complicated, I won't lie. Alright, next up. Let's do type on a path tool, and let's go to this path, and we're going to type on it. Wow, pretty cool, but we can see that it gets really funky around here and around here. So what you can do is, let's say you do this and it seemed like a good idea at the time. You can do your direct selection tool, and this is where you can click on those anchor points that you made and start to make some adjustments so that your text doesn't look quite as crazy as you had it before. So that's kind of fun because you can tinker around. Even on the ellipse tool, you can adjust things. Move your anchor points and handles around. So go ahead and just play around with typing on a path and some of the capabilities and maybe some of the limitations that you may find with doing this. So you can also start to play around with doing like transform and reflecting things. You can reflect it the other way if you want to. It's kind of confusing, but kind of fun to play around with. Alright. So go ahead and delete all that. And the last thing that I wanted to show you, well, there's vertical type tool, but that's fairly straightforward. It's just vertically typing. Last thing I want to show you is click and drag some sort of shape. And if you go just to your regular type tool and you click, go up towards the top and hover, the little square is going to turn into a circle. Let's see if we can see it. Oop, there we go. And it's going to fill the shape rather than doing it on the path. So we could try and even do something like a star. Do our type tool and kind of just go into that path. There it is. Super weird. Doesn't work as well with a bigger font here. Doesn't fill that space very well. And I also have my spacing. There we go. So you can start to fill up these shapes. You can play around with the appearance of your text. So here's the fill. Let's change the fill to red. But you can also adjust the stroke too. So that'd be the outline. So let's do a yellow outline. So it's looking like that right now. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what we're doing. You can adjust the thickness of your stroke, so you can make it a little bit thinner if you want it like that. You can make it really thick, play around with making it look saturated. You wouldn't use that very often unless it's more for like art purposes, design purposes. But today, really, I just want you to sort of mess around with all of these type functions and see if you can discover something new that I did not cover in this tutorial. And I just want you to get comfortable with using that because our next project is going to be we're going to use that a lot. We're going to use the type tools a lot. So have fun. Good luck.